Bruce Walpy there. We're joined now by Brendon O'Connor, Associate Professor in American Politics at the US Study Centre at Sydney University. Brendon O'Connor, welcome. Now, so Afghanistan, top of the debate, but essentially there's no real difference in their position, is there?
Well, Gillard had staked out a rather hawkish position, suggesting Australia would be there for quite a long time, maybe even longer than this timetable that Obama set out. So once again, Australia is standing very much beside the United States and Afghanistan, a tradition we saw in Iraq and I suppose dates back to Vietnam, one of the other issues they're discussing.
Libya will probably come up as well?
To a degree. I mean, Australia's not a major player on Libya. I mean, it's a very difficult issue, obviously, at the moment. The United States is probably thinking about it with NATO more than anyone else. But, yeah, it'll be one of the things that will be discussed.
There's a story coming out this morning that these British SAS troops were actually caught in Libya. An interesting little side note there. To what extent do you think the Western countries may be trying to get in on the ground level with these movements and work in with them to exert influence or try to establish contacts with them?
I don't think that will be the main approach. I mean, no-fly zones was the main talk, you know, trying to stop the Libyan Air Force from using that kind of terrible firepower against its people. So there'll be talk of that, but that would require something extreme from Gaddafi. If there's something terrible visited upon the people of Libya, then that will become more of the sort of table talk. At the moment, I think Secretary of Gates has really pulled back from that in the United States and said the United States is not going to war with Libya. So I mean, there'll be things around the edges. People would like to see a peaceful outcome, but I can't imagine ground troops. I mean, that's inconceivable. Back
to Julia Gillard's visit now. Barack Obama will be congratulating Julia Gillard on her moves towards a carbon tax here in Australia. He seems a very big supporter of those kind of initiatives.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Obama believes in this in the wider sense. He hasn't spent a lot of political capital. Praising another leader of a foreign country is an easy way to look green. He hasn't pushed this as a big thing on his own political front. It's very hard because his party doesn't control the lower house, the House of Representatives. So I think it's one of those symbolic things which Obama can do at the moment, and he'll praise her. And it will be very interesting what she'll say about that in her speech to the Congress.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be interesting to see how she goes in terms of her admission that she's not that keen on foreign policy anyway?
Well, it's a big chance for her, isn't it, in some ways, to remake her image. You don't get those chances that often as a Prime Minister. I think it will be a chance for her to look a little bit more like a statesperson, someone who's capable of handling it on, you know, what is a very major front, being in talking to the US Congress, something few Prime Ministers have had the privilege of doing. So I think it will be a big opportunity, but if she falls flat, the expectation or the ideas that people have about her is a bit light on foreign affairs might be reinforced. If she does very well, she may be able to use it in other areas.
I guess 20 or 30 years ago, whatever, when she was part of very left-leaning university politics, she would have had no idea that she would have ended up one day sitting down with the US president.
Yeah, well, you could say the same of Barack Obama. I mean, he was someone who was very much leaned to the left as a student, was very interested in a lot of third world issues, you know, very much identified with the poverty of African Americans in his community service work. So he, you know, he's someone who's had an amazing transformation, maybe more amazing than Julia Gillard. The two of them coming together could probably have a chuckle about that and then talk about how they're responsible for, you know, troops on the ground in Afghanistan, which is a pretty long way from the kinds of debates I imagine they had as students. And a lot of people who've gone to university have had. So a massive amount of responsibility from you know, quite fascinating beginnings for both of them.
Yeah, so they've actually got a lot in common.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I think leaders try to play that up when they meet with each other, points of commonality. Kevin Rudd was always good at trying to find some point of commonality. I think Rudd had a honeymoon in Hawaii, which he used as a sort of entree into the Obama life, and I'm sure Gillard's people will be researching some aspect of student politics or some aspect of their personal journeys, which is similar. But I think it's just an enormous stage for Julia Gillard, and it'll be very interesting. And we'll get a lot of playback here, obviously, not very much in the United States, is typical. And it will be an opportunity, I think, for her to sort of shine or to show herself as someone very capable of mixing it with, you know, a charismatic figure like Barack Obama.
Okay, Brendon O'Connor, thanks very much.
My pleasure.